But first, the fake news can attempt to tear down President Trump all they want. But the American people know the truth. President Trump has a winning agenda. Insider Advantage released their recent national survey of President Trump's job performance, revealing a 54% approval rating. And it's not just white voters. Rasmussen released a survey that had President Trump's approval rating at 53%, which included a 54% approval rating from black voters and a 53% approval from Hispanic voters. Who knows? Maybe Jason will now support Trump. I don't know about that. But why is President Trump's approval rating so high across the board? It's quite simple. Because his America First policies work. President Trump has successfully secured the southern border. New data released from the White House shows zero. I thought I misread this at first. 0 illegal aliens were released into the United States in May 2025, in comparison to 62,000 released under Sleepy Joe Biden in May 2024. I thought Kamala Harris was our border czar. President Trump was right. All America needed was a new president to be protected again. And today, President Trump reinforced this mission to keep America safe and ramp up his deportations of criminal illegal aliens.
We have to take care of our farmers. We have to take care of people that run leisure, hotels. I mean, we have to take care of them. But most importantly, we have to get the criminals out of our country. And Biden let in thousands and 11,888 murderers. Many of them murdered more than one person. Can you believe it? Many, almost 50% of them murdered more than one person. He let them into our country. They emptied out the jails of countries from all over the world, from the Congo, from Venezuela, from all over the place. They emptied out the jails, many of them. I would. If I were running one of the countries, I would have emptied out my prison population into the U.S., and many countries did. And we're getting them out, okay? We're getting them out.
President Trump is not only making America safe again, but the president is fulfilling his promise of strengthening the middle class. In only the first 5 months of President Trump's second term, blue-collar wages are seeing their largest increase in 60 years. 60. President Trump knows why he's doing so well with Americans, because this time around he can finally carry out his agenda.
I've had it for a long time. In the first term I had it, but you guys were after me. I said I had to focus. I was the hunted, and now I'm the hunter. It's a big difference.
We're here with tonight's squad. Let's jump right in. Now, Mercy, I want to start with you. And first, I want to give you this. I got you this in Poland, but I haven't seen you since I was there. That's Saint JP2.
Thank you.
While I was in Israel, I think there were few people other than my own mother who was as worried about me as Mercy. So enjoy that.
You didn't get us all like baklava from Israel?
I don't know if Daniel was worried about me, but I do actually have some I'll bring next time. I forgot it when I was in Greece. But anyway, Mercy, you are, of course, a Hispanic voter. You're a Latina voter. You're not a Latinx voter. What do you think is going on with Trump that explains the support from Latinos?
Well, first, Foldy, I'm so glad you're out of the bunker. No, I am seriously, we were all so concerned. We're so glad you're out of Israel. You were in Jerusalem. And it was really helpful to know, that you were sharing the experiences firsthand, but thank God you're back. But I got to tell you, look, I think that it is very telling that you're seeing not only Hispanics, but independent voters, even women, over 50% of women in this particular poll supporting President Trump and his mandate. It is very clear that he, in a short period of time, has been able to secure the border. As you mentioned, this huge drop in illegal crossings. You're talking about over 98% of less people crossing into the United States. It's remarkable what he's been able to accomplish by the policies that he has put in place, and then also with the economy, which is the fact that he is trying to work on these trade negotiations. You are seeing the wage growth, you are seeing consumer confidence going up, you're seeing energy prices going down. And so I think that there's this trust in Donald Trump, and I think that is the main focus here. Now, I do worry, you mentioned about the Hispanics, where you're seeing, for example, with Venezuelans and Cubans and parts of these communities, that they love Donald Trump. They love what he's been doing. But, with the removal of the temporary protective status, what does that mean for their immigration status? For a lot of these people who did come here legally and want to stay in America, especially if they go back to a country like Venezuela, where they could face political persecution? These are real questions that I think the administration will need to address.
Well, Jessica, your organization literally deals with the conservative grassroots across the entire country. Is there anything that surprised you? Where do you feel like Republican voters, Trump voters are standing, especially on his legislative priorities, the reconciliation package, immigration? What sort of do you hear from people all across America?
Well, thankfully, the president ran on two main pillars, right? Immigration and the economy. And the immigration fixes were so fast. These were immediate day one things. And so the voters that we talked to, in particular first-time Trump voters, they saw that and they were immediately pleased. Now they're willing to give the president a little bit more time on the different parts of his economic agenda. So they may not like that tariffs are taking so long and these trade deals to come together, but they're willing to give him the time because they know that it's part of the deregulatory stuff, the tax cuts that are coming with the big, beautiful bill. The challenge, though, is how much time. And I think for a lot of these voters, they're looking at their own cost of living. Thankfully, good things have happened. Cost of eggs is down. Cost of gas is down. So their daily life is getting better. They're also not tormented by the left, unless they're in LA right now. So things are looking up, and I think they're willing to give the president more time to get his economic agenda across the finish line.
I know you work with a lot of Trump supporters in the press. What's their view about
Well, I just would say that we should take some of these polls that you cited with a grain of salt. Rasmussen
You sound like Jason.
Rasmussen has always been a Republican, conservative-leaning polling firm, and most other polls, they show Trump's approval rating about 45%, his disapproval at 55%. And I think what's kind of driving that is that he's
is a lot of the coverage by the press.
He's kept doing all these reversals. So one day he's saying to ICE, don't go after the farms and our hospitality industry. 2 days later, he is saying, oh, it's actually status quo. So you can continue to go after them, even though Republicans on Capitol Hill, who represent agriculture states, they're saying, hey, this is going to destroy the American family farm, that most Americans don't want to be doing these jobs, and you need to have foreign workers to actually pick lots of crops and to keep restaurants from shutting down.
I know that's what everyone says, but there were actually really great stories in that 48-hour period of time where before the pause was, I guess, unpaused or whatever happened there, of people that were lining in lines to get those jobs. So I think it's a little bit of a misnomer to say that Americans don't want that work.
But
they do.
Many of those people are foreign-born workers, either illegal or...
The stories I saw in that window of time were Americans trying to get those jobs and to have a real earning wage, and that's something exciting.
But you can't
we need to see more
back and
of that.
forth like that.
And whether it's 45%,
he needs to stick with it for sure.
Whether it's 45% approval or 53% approval or 75% approval, whatever Trump's approval ratings are, despite the coverage by some of Daniel's friends, is still pretty impressive. And what we've seen in
You're friends with those people too, Matthew.
Some of them. But what we have seen, he has, especially compared to Biden, delivered probably the most transparent administration, at least in my lifetime. And so we saw today, President Trump was taking questions on the White House lawn. We basically never saw this with Biden, about whether the United States would strike Iran.
You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble.
And when Trump was asked what he would say to Iran's supreme leader, who I have some choice words to say after he spent 5 days trying to kill me, who refuses to surrender, Trump had quite a chilling warning.
Say good luck.
When does your
what is the
patience
end game?
run out with Iran?
Say it.
When does your patience run out?
It's already run out. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
You think you could take out the
We have 60 days and a big, 60 days, plenty of time. And they made a mistake, honestly. They made a mistake.
Now, Chris, I understand Jason is not here because he's registering to vote as a Republican with the other black voters who support Trump. But you've covered foreign policy for quite some time. What would you say to the Ayatollah, and what do you think has been going on in the White House with all of this?
Well, I think that the White House is managing, nudging the Ayatollah, nudging Iran. We're standing up our military in the region big time. We've got one aircraft carrier battle group, a second nearby, and a third now leaving the east coast of the United States to go. We've got where there's lots of talk. Telegraphing the B-2 bombers being loaded up and these gigantic 30 1,000-pound munitions that can be loaded onto B-2 bombers. And we're laying it all out there for the Ayatollah to see and for the other Iranian leadership to see. And President Trump is, I think, making no bones about it. He's terrorizing them, you know.
It's about time.
He is about, turnabout is fair play. And I think that President Trump is putting the fear of Allah into them and hoping that they'll snap out of it. I don't think they will, by the way, but the president is playing the, the art of the deal right now.
I think he knows.
It's also hard. It's hard to, when you're the Iranian supreme leadership, when you say, "Oh, God has made me the leader of this country," and then Trump is saying, "Do an unconditional surrender." How does that make you look to your people? So it's almost like a impossible situation. He knew that they would push back and say, "Oh, we're not going to do any of this."
Boldy, while you weren't here, now Chris Plant's the supreme leader, so let's just get that.
I prefer that.
But I do want to add one thing about President Trump. It is about suspense. He is very good about trying to keep you thinking, like, what can come next. And so this is
every
like
day
a psychological warfare.
Every day is a new episode of the Trump show.
Yeah, well, it's like a psychological play by President Trump. And so you could see the Ayatollah. He's responding, but it's like, oh, the U.S. threat. But he's got to be crapping in his pants in Iran, hidden somewhere in some sort of bunker. Or no pants. You're right.
No pants.
But be concerned that President Trump could take him out, because President Trump said, I know exactly where you are and you're an easy
And going
target.
back even to when Trump announced his candidacy almost exactly 10 years ago, he was making this clear. And we've seen throughout his political career, he's made it crystal clear that under no circumstances can Iran have nuclear weapons. And today, again, he reiterated that position.
We're looking for a long time. Yeah, we're looking. I only want one thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's it. I'm not looking long-term, short-term. And I've been saying that for 20 years. I've been saying it as a civilian who got a lot of publicity. People would cover it. Very simply, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's it. It's not a question of anything else. And if you did, you wouldn't have much of a country, because they would use it on us and they'd use it on other people, and they'd be a terror all over the world.
And it's not just the president who thinks that Iran can't have nuclear weapons, but an overwhelming majority of the American people also think this.
I feel like there's more support for Donald Trump's positions than is comically acknowledged. Oppose Iran getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, look at this. 79% of adults agree on that. They agree with Donald Trump. Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. 83% of Republicans, 79% of independents, 79% of Democrats. When you get 79% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans agreeing on anything, you know that that position is the very clear majority in this country. And so the American public is with Donald Trump. They definitely oppose Iran getting nuclear weapons.
The 21% of Democrats who are not there, usually it's basically their leadership in Congress is what it seems like. I was struck when I was sitting in bomb shelters at how muted the response from elected Democrats in America were. And Chris, you were thinking that some of what Trump was dealing with, the Ayatollahs and the mullahs, was a little bit of deception. What do you mean by that?
Well, and Mercy was talking about it. It's he's working them. Look, we don't have 3 aircraft carrier battle groups there now, but we might as well. We don't have. We're not blackening the skies with B-2 bombers overhead with bunker busters, but we might as well, because the psychological operation component of all of this is the PSYOP, is that we are in the air, breathing down your neck. We're almost there. And I don't think President Trump wants to use a single American airplane. I don't think he wants an American aircraft carrier to be involved. He wants them to back down. And again, trying to put the fear of Allah into them, which may or may not work. Whatever they're doing in their pants or their thobes or whatever they're doing. But I think that the president is a little bit of, it's kind of a reign of terror. He is trying to put the fear of Allah into them and hoping that we can avoid any escalation of the conflict there, while still taking out, I've got to say, I think that the president has, I don't know this, has probably decided that the Fordo nuclear facility underground is going to have to be eliminated. It's also Benjamin Netanyahu's #1 target, the Fordo facility, 300 feet underground under rock.
I think it would make a great parking lot. And Jessica, I mean, we were just seeing these numbers, and your organization, Sentinel Action Fund, is in my inbox basically every day with polls of Republican primary voters. Yes, thank you. My inbox appreciates it. Hey, tell me what you've seen. I mean, have you guys already done polling? Are you guys in the field about where Americans, Republicans are at on this specific issue?
They support President Trump on this 100%. And I think it's important to remember how we got here, because this didn't happen in a vacuum.
Right.
This hasn't happened in just 3 days. This is over a decade. And President Trump started with diplomacy. He's now at fear and determined. Whatever happens next is on the Ayatollah. He did that to his people that he cares so much about. And President Trump has been very clear he will do whatever it takes to ensure Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. And I think that's something that everyone can get behind in the GOP right now, even if there's some differences in how to deal with it.
But there is a segment that is saying that Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is saying, hey, let's not listen to the chest beating and the kind of the war drums, that Trump is someone who was elected in large part because he was against the Iraq war and he was against foreign entanglements, and now he is saying basically, oh, I'm probably going to go in.
And that's,
Yeah, but
and that's
going
fine.
in-
I've got to say, it's good. I'd rather be in the party where there is disagreement among people. The Democrats goose step together on absolutely every single issue. They never deviate from the party standard. And I'm happy to be part of the party where, Tucker Carlson's over there and you get
Getting in with it with Ted Cruz.
I know,
Yeah,
but let's
absolutely.
just remember, going in can mean different things, right? There's a difference between American troops sending American assets.
But also,
And this is
all
the
the
other
airfare.
thing
There
we've-
is a
we've-
difference
sometimes
level.
We've seen that
very hard to-
the boomers have overlearned the lessons from the Vietnam War, and I think a lot of people now are overlearning the lessons from the Iraq War right now, is basically what I saw going on right now. There's a big difference between bombing Fordo into a parking lot and mass invading Iran, and I don't
Big
think that that's what's
Can
happening.
I also say that we were talking about this goes back a while. This goes back to Barack Obama. That's
And
where
to
this goes
1979
back to.
also.
With this ridiculous, outrageous deal called the JCPOS. It's the JCPOS. Right?
Yeah, right.
The JCPOS was the most horrible nuclear deal that any country's ever cut. And that allowed them to spin centrifuges and enrich uranium and bury their nuclear facilities where they couldn't be
And violate all of these agreements and legitimize
and
them.
then and it was the Democrats and John Boltneck Kerry and Barack Hussein Obama that set us up for this moment. Make no mistake, this all goes back to Obama and the horrible deal that he cut with the Iranians that allowed them to go forward with their nuclear weapons and ballistic missile program. Just should be pointed out every time this comes up. Still ahead, who was really running the country while sleepy Joe Biden was sleeping in the White House? The Senate tries to get some